This is Timeout with uSTADIUM. This podcast is for you sports super fans, for you sports debaters, and yes, you, the sports opinionators or hot takers. We take your calls live on air and answer questions directly from the uSTADIUM. Get it at uSTADIUM.com. Join in on the conversation with Brianna, Nick, and Frankie. Timeout with uSTADIUM.
What up, everybody? We are back. We had a little hiatus last week. I was out the week before. I lost all my power here, but we are back today. How are you guys doing?
Ready to go.
Ready to go? Frankie?
I am born ready. I cannot wait for this show. I feel like I haven't seen you guys in 2 months.
I know. It's crazy. All right, so before we get started, like always, make sure you are liking and subscribing to all things uSTADIUM, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, Instagram, wherever else we may be. Make sure you're there. Download the uSTADIUM app. Did I miss anything? I think that's everything. Okay. So before we get into anything, guys, Italy won the Euros. How are we feeling about that? Oh, my God.
Damn good.
Holy
that was amazing.
Champions of Europe in a pretty exciting game against England. It came down to PKs. And unfortunate what happened after the PKs on the England side, where they were throwing racist comments at their players. They defaced a mural of Marcus Rashford, who has done incredible things for his community over there.
What's the story with that? I didn't even see that.
So he was one of the ones that missed one of the PKs. And he has done a lot for the community up in Manchester. I believe it's along the lines of like meals for school children and things like that. So there's a big mural of him, and apparently was defaced with racial slurs and remarks and things like that. And some of the neighbors in the area kind of went over and covered all of that up and put heartfelt comments on there, calling him a hero and saying like it's okay. He's that kids send him some nice notes and everything. So it's a little disappointing to see like that's where it ended up after the game, but to also see the people come and support him. And I'm sure he's feeling, kind of like crap right now. I mean, he missed a PK to potentially win Euros. I would feel like crap too, but it's really nice to see that the fans who are real fans are showing support for him. So even as Italian fans, we send our sentiments over to Marcus Rashford and all the other players that are facing some pretty nasty backlash, because that's just, there's no need for that. So, but Forza Azzurri. So
yeah, we were outside of Lago in West Harrison, New York, with a ton of people. I mean, I think we were expecting probably like 250 and 300 people, but easily doubled that. Probably about 1,000 of us outside there. We had the big screen and.
Look at that fist pumping right there. Look at that, Nick. I wasn't there, but I wish I was, honestly.
But a lot of people did, and it was wild out there. It was loud. The place was just, you felt the anxiety, while they were down 1-0 all the way up until, midway of the second half, and penalty kicks were just, you could hear a pin drop, and you did feel like the anxiety of the group there. And then after they did win, I think, this is after the PKs, and people just stayed in the streets for hours. They started kicking everybody out around 8:00, but there was still like hundreds of people up until 8:00, and it was just such an awesome event. Our good friend Andrea, who's definitely a fan of the show, fan of everything we do here at uSTADIUM. He's worked with us in the past. He put it on with his team at Lago, and there was a drone with the flag, which was pretty cool. So it was really an awesome event, and feels good to finally win something. One of my teams hasn't won since Italy in 2006 with the World Cup. So it's cool to experience the one side, the World Cup, and the other side with the Euro Cup, and felt good to actually win something.
That's the last time you're going to win something, Nick.
And my brother said that to me
for a long, long time.
I know.
We're going to go into our top 5 teams that we want to win a championship most in our lives. We're going to get into that soon. But Nick, you're screwed, man. Jets, Mets. Oh, but you should have stayed with the Nets when you were a Nets fan when you were younger. When they were in Jersey, you should have stuck them out. You could have.
Yeah, the
had
NBA,
one
the NBA kind of soured on me, and I hated the Brooklyn rebrand with the Nets, and don't like the current Nets team. So I'm good with letting that thing happen over there. They're not going to win anything anyway. It doesn't matter.
Unbelievable.
That's right. Well, we got the World Cup next summer, so
That's true.
it
Next
might
November,
be,
which sucks.
Oh yeah. Well,
Because of
where are
Qatar
they?
and all
It's
that
in
crooked shit they have going on with FIFA, which is terrible. So, well, we have plenty of time to complain about that. And shout outs to Martino, who joined us along the way with all the soccer coverage. He wouldn't show up to the actual game to watch. I think he's a little superstitious, but he did show up to the post game, so that was cool to see him.
That's how the North End in Boston was. The street, they didn't shut the street down, but it was like a massive parade in the street.
Mm-hmm.
And cars were still trying to go through on Hanover Street, and people were just standing there celebrating. Crazy stuff. The Italians know what they're doing, man. I tell you, we know what we're doing. We know how to party. So it's pretty cool.
It was fun.
So going
only if we knew how to run our government and help people make money. That's it.
No.
But everything else we're pretty good at.
That's a little bit out of our hands. Getting into what Frankie alluded to a couple minutes ago, we are doing our top 5 teams that we want to see win a championship. So we have graphics made for these, and we are going to go one at a time and kind of just explain super quick our reasoning behind each one, whether it's just like a just because or if there's like a legit reason behind it. So Frankie, you can go first if we can pull Frankie's graphic up. All right, take it away.
I only see one championship out of that in the next 5 years, and you know who that is. Li Azzurri a quattro, number 4.
I was gonna say.
All right, so all right, I'll jump into this quickly. I know Nick's gonna share number 1 with me, although I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure. Jet fans, we're nut jobs. If the Jets win, stay inside if you're not a Jets fan because it's going to be intense. It's going to be wild. We're the most maybe starved NFL team for a championship. I don't know if that's because we're just nuts or being in New York City and New York and just wanting to feel what the Yankees have gotten over the years. The Jets fan base is starving for one, so I want that one real bad. The number 1. Number 2, close to my Jets, it's the Knicks. Again, that New York City team that's just suffered for so long in the shadows of the Yankees and New York and all the successes behind this city. We've been a failure as a franchise and a team like the Jets, the Knicks, and I want that one real bad also. Not as bad as the Jets, but second. Third, I want the freaking USA men's soccer team to do something. I mean, we're currently ranked 20th in the world, which is embarrassing considering the athletes we have. The highest we've ever been ranked was actually 4th, which wasn't too long ago. That was in 2006 when Italy, who we'll get into next, won the World Cup. But USA, I want a freaking World Cup. How nice would that be for our country to do something in a sport that we're not notoriously known in? And we're actually notoriously known as being crappy in for the level of talent we have. We're not very good at soccer. So I really would love to see the USA win a World Cup. That's 3rd. 4th, I'm Italian. I love when Italy wins. It's just like to my core and my soul as a person. So I would love Italy to win another World Cup and shut up these Brazilians and Argentinians and Portuguese. I think they're better than Italians at soccer. You're not better. All right. Even my friend who's half Israeli makes fun of Italians all the time, saying we're all short and we're not good at sports. We get lucky in soccer. He hasn't said a word to me since Italy won on Sunday. I would love for them to win again. So he shuts his mouth even more. And then 5, just because we have 27 of them, we have 16 more than
God.
And we have 16 more than the team that's in second, the St. Louis Cardinals, who have 11. So we have a lot of time where we can let other teams win. So the Yankees, keep them at 5. We're too far ahead. We're way ahead of the pack. We can start running backwards like they do in Usain Bolt used to do in track once in a while when he was winning. So yeah, we're good. We're good. So I'll keep them 5th.
You're insane with the 27 rings thing. I'm so sick of you Yankee fans.
Right, I'm surprised you don't have the Knicks
sick
number
of you
1,
guys.
honestly.
It's always Jets, man. It's always Jets.
It's football. It's the sport I don't know, it's just a better sport.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
why don't you go, Bree? We'll break up the New York monotony here, and we'll let you get your
right.
Boston homerism in. I'll
go. Yes, I need to. Okay. This is my list. Not everybody is going to like it because the majority of the uSTADIUM crowd is of Jets fandom and New York descent, so that's okay.
Something missing here.
there is something missing here, and I'll explain that. Number 1 is the Boston Bruins, and it is for the sole reason that this core is getting older. This is probably one of their last runs. I know Bruins fans have said that for the last year or two, but they've kind of come out and said it this year. Marchand specifically said, we're getting older. There's no secret we're getting older. Like time's coming. You can't stop it, much to Tom Brady's chagrin, but it's true. So I need the Boston Bruins to win at least one more before Marchand retires, Bergeron retires, and they kind of split up this whole core that I've known for the last decade plus of my life. So that's why they're number 1, and they're so close. They really are. They're one piece away. Number 2 is the Patriots. Most people are kind of surprised maybe that they're at number 2 for me, but I just think this Bruins team is too good to not win something right now, and they're the closest out of all the 4 teams in Boston right now, in my opinion. And the Patriots being my favorite team out of all 4, that's why they're at number 2. I don't think it's a realistic thing right now with the whole quarterback situation, but you never know. Number 3, Italy World Cup. Last time they won a World Cup, I was just about to turn 10 years old.
Wow.
So that was kind of a long time ago. I'm going to be 25 this year, so it's a little weird. It's just one of those things that is really fun to celebrate with my family, especially my dad. This is like one of the things that we kind of bond over, aside from just like the Boston sports thing, is we really come together when it comes to Italy football. So that's a big thing for me. And it would be so cool to see. The Euros is one thing, but the World Cup, champions of the world, it's insane. The parties that we saw in the streets would be tenfold. So that's why that's there. Number 4, the Red Sox. They're the big surprise of, I believe, all of Major League Baseball this year. Nobody thought they were going to be as good as they actually are. I think that they have the team in place to actually make a run at the World Series. Chris Sale's coming back. They called up Jarren Duran. They have Tanner Houck now. They were supposed to play tonight, but the Yankees can't figure out their COVID situation. So, but I think they have it in them. I think they have it in them for a long run into October. And number 5, this might piss some people off, and that's partially why I picked it. The U.S. women's national team. Their reign of dominance is never going to end, and it's going to continue to piss off the men that don't like seeing women be successful in sports, and that's why they're on my list, because they're so goddamn good, and they're so goddamn good at making small men angry. That's why they're there. Megan Rapinoe can keep doing her thing with her purple hair and her crazy Victoria's Secret campaigns and whatever. Keep doing it, keep making them mad, and keep bringing home trophies, because at the end of the day, that's all that really matters.
Wait, quick question. Do you have any problem with them all kneeling for the anthem the other night?
No.
Not at all?
Not at all.
You know why I have a problem with it? I don't have a problem with people kneeling. I have a problem with a USA represented team kneeling for a USA anthem. Like, you're literally representing the team. That'd be like you're not showing up to play for the Spurs because you don't like the owner and you don't want to play. I mean, like, it sounds crazy to me. I don't know. It looked crazy. I'm not going to lie. I'm not trying to get into political discussion. I don't mind players kneeling individually, but like 80%. And I feel like some of these girls just kneel not to make their teammate feel like they're not on their side or something. They're not, with them on stuff. Yeah, and they really don't feel that way. And it's like,
sure.
And I feel like that's, I don't know. I feel like it's just, it doesn't feel right. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Well, it's gotten to the point now where it takes more guts, and not that it's a thing, not that it's like a statue, something to wear on your belt or anything, but it almost takes more guts to not kneel at this point. But by not kneeling doesn't mean you're against what people are kneeling for. It just means you view, or you have different experiences and beliefs than other people do. And now the people who aren't kneeling, like I saw Julie Ertz in that video, didn't kneel. And I think, who was the other girl? She was the one who picked up the flag a couple years ago when it fell on the floor. What's her name, Bree? Do you remember? O'Hara? Kelly O'Hara?
Kelly O'Hara, yes.
She was the only other one who didn't kneel. So it's like, you look at them and you're like, well, it's almost hard for those two girls, because now they're being judged for not kneeling. It becomes such like a pissing contest to me, and that's what I feel like it's become really in this country. It's like it served a purpose. We understand what it's about. If you say it now, if you have one belief or another belief, it's like you're shunned. So to me, it's just every time I see it, I'm almost just fed up with it. Because, look, I'm not trying to do what the hell you want. I'm always that way. I said that about politics. I say about the vaccine, whatever you believe. Do what you want. Leave me alone. It's like, it's how I live my life, to be honest with you. But at a point, just like it just opens everybody else up for like judgment to judge other people, and it just gets annoying at a point. But
the other thing too is this: does it even help? I feel like it makes the divide even worse off, right? Like, how many people have honestly changed their opinions towards racial injustices because Kaepernick's kneeling? There is a side to it that is, you're raising awareness, so groups will be behind it, and you're going to be able to maybe push some agenda forward that could help. But I feel like it almost pisses off some people to a point where, like, they're going to be less prone to listen to the other side when they
puts a lot of people off. Yep.
Yeah. Not to get into Bree.
I'm not gonna. Sorry, Bree. Back to you.
No, it's okay.
I agree with you, Frank. It does. I'll admit it. It's like, to me, I'm like, I'm all for bringing awareness to racial injustice and specifically with the police and trying to have our police be better, do better, as a whole. But the whole in your face and shoving it down your throat thing definitely turns me off 100%.
Yeah, I don't know. I think my biggest thing as to why it doesn't bother me is because it gets people to talk about it like we're doing right now. So it can't be all bad. And it's one thing and the other if you don't agree with it or the views that it's kind of enforcing, but it gets the conversation started, and who knows where things can go from there in a positive way when you're actually having those conversations. So that's why I think it's
where
are
the Celtics on your list?
The Celtics are not on my list.
Here.
How are they not on my list?
Are they sixth? Are you like pissed off at them or something right now?
No, so I would have them. I would have them sixth. I would have them sixth. I just think if they were to have won a championship, it would have been in the last few years, and it just seems like the window's closing. I know bringing in Udoka is supposed to be this great big thing that we're all excited for, and I am. If what they said is true, that Jason and Jalen both signed off, and Marcus Smart too, the way that they're posting about Marcus Smart and talking about Marcus Smart, it seems like they're going to keep him around. I just don't know if moving Brad to the front office role is going to work as well as they planned, not just from the sense that he doesn't know what he's doing, but I don't think he really doesn't want to coach anymore. I think he saw the opening to stop coaching a team that, from what I've heard from people close to the team, I'm not going to say whether this is 1,000% true or not, because you never know. A lot of the star players were kind of sick and tired of Brad, and it was either Brad's out or they're out. And you can't get the star players out of there, or else you're going to start rebuilding all over again. So I think Brad saw his opportunity to move, and he took it, and then we'll see what goes from there. But I don't think this is going to be more than a 1 year thing for him in this front office role.
It sounds like a demotion, but it sounds like people in the front office really like him, ownership, and they don't want to get rid of him.
Well, he's a brilliant basketball mind, so I wouldn't want to get rid of him either. But I just don't think president of basketball ops is what he wants to be doing.
I did an Instagram live during the week with Raj from RSF joined, and I did it with Smitty from a fantasy football show and the Bear Down Cuz guy, and we were talking about the Bears and their GM Ryan Pace, and I brought up, do you think the drafting of Fields is going to kind of give Pace and Nagy a leash? And he said the ownership loves Ryan Pace. It'll probably give Nagy a little bit of a leash, but with Pace, it's like, even if they get to the point where, let's say they had a shitty year this year and they're going to move on from him, they would move him into a front office role because they like him that much. So it almost feels like a similar situation with Brad Stevens. They like the guy. They think he's smart. Probably not best for coaching this specific team. Maybe he goes into the front office, builds the team the way he wants, and he goes back in like 3 years and coaches the team. That could be an interesting situation.
Yeah.
Maybe he just didn't feel he had enough power. The Parcells adage of, if I'm gonna go, if I'm gonna do the cooking, at least let me go shopping for the ingredients, right? So maybe that was Stevens wasn't able to kind of put together a team that he wanted. So that could be a case. So yeah, you're all in all, you're mad at the Celtics, so that's why they were left off the list.
I wouldn't necessarily say mad. I'm just kind of unsure as to what they're doing, and until I see it on the court again after this summer, because they need to make moves this summer. They need a point guard. Getting rid of Kemba was great. It was the right move. You dump that contract to make that somebody else's problem. That's awesome. you can't just be Marcus Smart. It can't. So they got to figure it out. We can probably come back to this in the fall before the NBA gets up and running again. And I'll kind of revisit this and see where my head's at after the summer that they have. But right now I'm a little hesitant to see what they're doing. So that's
I respect the love for hockey, the respect there. So I appreciate that. So I'll get into mine, Splash. Mine's very simple. I mean, I really only have two specific teams that I root hard for, and you can see the individual. I'm a Tiger groupie, that's for sure. The Jets clear number one.
Nick's teams are so bad. He has Italy on twice and Tiger Woods.
All right, so it's Italy World Cup, Italy Euro Cup. I'd love to see them just continue to own all of Europe and those teams. Spain, Germany, France specifically, I can't stand. And England is by far my least favorite soccer team. So I was so happy that Italy got the chance. I was rooting for them against Denmark because I wanted exactly what happened. Was I would love to beat them in their stadium, send their cocky, arrogant, asshole fans home, crying like children. So that was so great to see. Then the World Cup, obviously it's the entire world, beat the Brazils, the Argentinas, teams like that, teams you don't like there. So that's why they're 3-4 there. Tiger Woods, like I said, I'm a groupie. The Masters win a couple years ago. It felt as if you were a member of Tiger's team when you won. I always supported him. So
how do you have Tiger Woods on?
Dude, I don't like hockey and I don't like basketball. I don't follow any of those teams. And one is clearly the Jets.
You're obsessed. You used to love Tiger Woods, man. We used to have fights about Tiger.
He's the best.
We used to really argue about Tiger. Remember when we made a bet on the air? This is when we had our old show.
Didn't you say he was never going to win again?
Yeah, he ended up winning again, though, right?
He won the Masters two years ago.
Yeah, I'm an idiot. Yeah, he ended up winning it, but it took what 12 years?
Well, yeah, it took a long time.
So I was right for a long time, and then.
Well, yeah, I mean, he might not ever play again, let alone compete in a Masters tournament. So, I would just love to see him. The sport is just rejuvenated and. He brings so much to the game that more than any other athlete ever, because without Michael Jordan, there's always been, though there was basketball, there will be basketball, without Babe Ruth or whoever you want to talk about, baseball being the face of the sport, the quarterbacks in the NFL, without Tiger Woods, man, that's a dead sport. He carried that sport into the 90s and into the 2000s and then really brought it back to life again in 2019 Masters. Yeah, because 2020 they moved to November, which was terrible. And then this past one, he wasn't in. But he just brings so much to that sport and energy and a whole youth movement for fans. So he was just so important to the growth of the game.
I thought Rory was
Rory's
going to be somebody that was going to be able to bring some of that to the
sport.
He's a flash in the pan.
Never liked Rory. I think I'm a little.
I thought he was really good though. He's a good player.
Yeah, no, these guys are all great. Brooks, to me, is a guy who could have carried that kind of mantle.
He still can, no?
I just don't see it. I think he lost a little bit. He doesn't play well at all in any of these random opens or whatnot, and then he turns it on for these, the major events. But the injuries are kind of catching up to him. He just seems very negative and mad at the world right now too. The whole Bryson DeChambeau thing that he has going on too, it's kind of annoying. But he would be the guy now without Tiger who has to like carry the sport, and he's really not. And then remember the kid, oh my God, he's drawing a blank. He looks like a 12-year-old kid, Jordan Spieth. He was like the next Tiger, and he fell off the face of the earth too. So it's such a mental game that like if you can dominate it it's the only individual in that in tennis, like the individuality of that sport. It's like if you lose a little bit mentally, you're done. I mean, look at Tiger for the longest time with all the stuff that went on with him.
Yeah.
But that's why he's on there for me. I just enjoy watching him the most. And then
Rocco Mediate could have carried the sport, but
yeah, he carries for the Italians a little. He's an Italian American. And then you have the other Italian that Tiger beat a few years ago in the Masters.
Who was that? Was that Molinari?
Too. Yeah, Francesco Molinari.
He's a show job.
Yeah, he doesn't win big events, but he's a great player too. But obviously the Jets are number one for me by far. It's like a giant gap between the next team, and then the Mets, especially now, it's like they're starting to talk and feel themselves a little bit. The Mets, they got some confidence with Steve Cohen, and he says he's going to spend money here. And the biggest like like it's so upsetting to see Jacob deGrom not pitch in October because of this awful team and franchise that like they have to start. Like there is an absolute like hurry for them to go out and get a Chris Bryant and another starter here at the deadline because you're just wasting years of Jacob deGrom. And this NL East is never going to be as bad as it is this year. So the fact that they're 3.5 up, they had all these injuries, the second worst offense in the NL, they have to go out and they have to do something. So that's why they're 2. I almost saw it in 2015. That was a great year, but it ended poorly. And just standing there, like I was with my brother, who obviously is another diehard Jet fan, watching like the Italians celebrate after they won the Euros. And you're like, man, this is almost kind of like what it would feel like if the Jets were to ever win. Just kind of people just partying in the street and just like nothing else was going. I felt like I was drunk or like hungover, and I didn't even drink. I was too nervous to drink during the game and stuff. But and it felt was like almost like an out of body thing when your team wins. And like I said, I don't experience it a lot. So I was like, damn, this must be what it feels like.
Before I was in the exact opposite boat in terms of
me too.
I was drinking or not.
In terms of drinking?
No,
right
before the penalty kicks was starting, I was like rushing the lady over, like, get me one of these spiked seltzers before penalty kicks start. I was like chugging it before like the first kick when I'm like, I have to get one more in.
That's how I am though at games. Frank, I don't eat and I don't drink during games. I'm too like, I stand in front of the TV. Like I was standing the whole time, like we were in the streets. People would bring their own, like these Italians from our town were bringing their patio sets and putting them in like hard stone patio sets. Probably took like 10 of them to throw them in the back of the landscaping truck and bring them down. And they're setting them up in the middle of the road. And they're sitting around with food and stuff. And like I'm standing, like we're in the corner, just kind of like pacing around. Like I can't eat during games. I can't drink, like unless if my teams are playing. Otherwise, it's different. But for me, I'm just like too nervous and too focused.
That's crazy. All right. Should we answer this question? Are you guys big soccer guys? Do you know any of these names aside from
Yeah, of course. In your opinion, what's the best
obvious?
football player in the world? Lionel Messi. Can't say Mbappe right now. Ibrahimovic is old. If you're talking about currently, I mean, you probably got to either go Neymar or Ronaldo, just because Ronaldo still won the
It's
Golden
Ronaldo,
Boot for
man.
the Euros.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
I don't even.
But the problem with
like him,
Ronaldo,
and it's Ronaldo.
Yeah, but the problem with Ronaldo, especially in this tournament, if you watched, he scored 5 goals. I think 4 of them were on PKs that weren't even of his doing. He didn't draw the penalty. He comes.
That's
in,
the thing with soccer. We've spoken about this a bunch.
Yeah.
If you get fouled in the box, you should have to take the penalty kick.
Yeah.
That should be
I
a
think
rule.
that's why I'm going to go with
It's
Messi
ridiculous.
or Neymar. They create.
You know how many goals Messi and Ronaldo have scored off of penalty kicks that are not forced by them, just some other player? I mean, they've made careers. I bet you half their goals are from penalty kicks in league play, at least. It's crazy.
Yeah. Ronaldo's great, obviously. Ronaldo's
like LeBron. He does everything. Messi's like Steph. He's just like a deep shooter. Messi's a scorer. And then Ibrahimovic is old. Mbappe's amazing, though. He's like the next big striker. I mean, he already is.
Who do you say?
Lewandowski's
a great call,
again,
too,
by the way. But yeah, Lewandowski's good.
That's a tough question, man. I mean, you can't. Neymar is like unbelievable.
What about Chiesa, baby?
I know. That'd be on my list. That's my guy.
Splash, go on uSTADIUM Soccer and get the Chiesa in the club clip. That dude was
You're such a rat, bro. Let the guy have a good time. All these people want to show him in the club.
Dude, there's probably some videos of me out there like that, so I'm gonna gather up as many as I can. Hey.
I don't know what his name is. I want to show him some love for the comments and questions. Football is the most popular sport in the world.
The best part about the fact that the Italian Americans that maybe don't really watch a lot of Serie A are falling in love with Chiesa means I have more people to talk about Juventus with instead of people just being like, oh, what's that? Who's that? So it's great because Chiesa's on Juve and you obviously got Bonucci and Chiellini who are the old guard, been there forever. And then Ronaldo for now is still with Juve. I have a feeling that
I can't wait for him to leave.
I have a feeling he's going to end up at PSG.
Good, let him go.
I feel it in my bones.
PSG and Donnarumma, awful move by him to leave Italy and go play with a shitbag PSG. I can't stand them. So
Nick,
anyway.
PSG's buying everyone. They haven't bought
it. It's a terrible job by Donnarumma. He shouldn't have done it. It's bad for his career.
Nick, I was reading this with you guys in the text before. I didn't respond at all because I didn't want to. You guys are wrong. If you have an offer to play for PSG and it's enough money, you go and play for PSG. How are you hating on a guy for doing? Where do you want him? You want him to stay in Italy? These guys don't always stay in Italy. Nick, it doesn't work like that. Where's he going to play for Juventus or Milan?
Yeah, why not?
He played in Milan.
He played in Milan. They did everything possible they could to keep him. They just couldn't match what this snake owner of PSG can now. So
Nick,
that's what happens.
Give me a
That's
break,
the agent world, man. It is what it is. But he should have.
They got
stepped
Sergio
in
Ramos now too, which is sickening.
That's like blaming the Mets for getting that overrated shortstop you guys have because he took more money and didn't stay home. What are you talking about?
They traded for him. They traded for him.
Well, they traded for him to give him that offer because they know the team. He knew the team he was with was not going to take that offer. But what do you expect him to do? You want him to stay
but
home?
It's different. No, I'm never one to tell people to take for less money, but to go. I personally just think it taints what could have been like a legendary Italian player career, staying in Italy and dominating, like Gianluigi Buffon. He went to PSG, but he went when he was 35. He followed the money there. In my opinion, he should have stayed.
Yeah, I agree. But Javier makes a good point. Spinazola, we got to talk about him. My guy.
If they won without him, though. It's okay.
He would have. I know he would have been player of the tournament.
But they were a different team with him, man.
They needed him. Emerson did a good job filling in. He was serviceable, but I don't think that game would have gone into penalty kicks in the final against England if Spinazzola was on the pitch. I just don't think it would have happened.
They would have definitely had more threat with him.
So disgustingly fast
and handsome
and good looking. He's a good looking guy. He really is.
He looks like Eric Decker. I don't know why people give me a hard time about that.
You think so?
Yeah, a little bit. I can find some picture in the send. I like this guy. The comments.
Oh, hey, Nick, you follow Jesse James Decker from every uSTADIUM account we have, by the way. Every time I go on,
we did the event with her.
Yeah, but I know how you are.
Someone's noticing.
Every time I open up a uSTADIUM account, like another one, like uSTADIUM Soccer, Esports, there's just Jesse James Decker. Like if one of our accounts has 5 followings, she's always one of them.
She's great.
Just on every account we ever had.
And Addie loves it too. My wife loves her. Well, from the event when we did the bowling.
No, she was so nice at the event. Yeah, her and Eric were awesome, honestly.
Yeah.
Terrible bowlers, but really, really nice.
Probably the most attractive couple on the face of the earth, too. But that's beside the point. All right, we need to move on. We've talked about soccer more in this one episode than we've ever talked about in our entire history. This is the last time for everybody who hates. I know there's people who hate it, and we get it. This is the last time. I know we bombarded you guys with it. I think me and Martino called Italy over England in the finals. So shout outs to us. But this will be the last time.
You guys were right. I was saying France is a better team than Italy. I cannot believe I said that, but I will man of my word at the end of the day. I BS a lot, but I'll admit to my BS, okay?
All right, we need to move on. So we are going to continue our top 10 series. Edge rushers this time. Splash says he's got the graphic ready. Here we go.
He always does.
Okay.
Better than Splash.
Let's go. This is interesting. I actually don't have a lot of disagreements. I think I would flip-flop 1 and 2. But other than that,
Frank would appreciate that. There are so many good edge rushers. Like there were some guys, Frank.
Yeah, there's a ton of
I mean, the fan vote.
Von Miller's not even on there, and I know. I think he finished 3rd in the fan vote, so that's insane to me. Von Miller, by the way, is a top 10 edge rusher. He just is. We should have had him on there, I think, 100%.
It's tough. Like, who do you take off at this point? Like, he wasn't healthy last year, and then the year before that, he kind of declined a bit. But it's like you're not going to doubt a healthy Von Miller, right? You put him.
There's 2 guys that I think are a little bit overrated on that list that are ranked high.
Can I guess?
Yeah.
Chandler Jones and Cam Jordan.
No, he loves Chandler Jones.
Okay, good, because I would have fought you on Jones.
Who am I going to say?
You're going to say Joey Bosa.
Yep.
I know you like Shaq Barrett a lot. Maybe Chase Young. Are you not high on him yet?
No, I love Chase Young. I think Khalil Mack is a little bit overrated. Just a little bit. I don't think he's this. I don't think he's on this level with TJ and Miles. He's not disruptive enough when he wants to play now. When he's in the game and he's aggressive, he's unreal. I mean. But he's too much of a guy who just mentally checks out of games, I think. So Khalil's amazing, but I don't know. I could see Khalil. If Khalil was 6th or 7th on that list, And Bosa too. I mean, he's supposed to be anchoring this amazing defense in LA and the Chargers, and I don't know. I don't really see it.
I think with Mac, I think he's been, he was there was so much hype around the trade when the Raiders traded him for the 2-1s, and everybody was like, "Oh, what are the Raiders doing? Was he worth it?" And then the Bears haven't really won anything, but you have to realize every year, even PFF. I know people don't love the PFF stats, but pressures, quarterback hits, even if he's not producing the sacks, maybe that he was in Oakland in the first year, the forced fumbles, the big plays, he is ridiculous, Khalil Mack. And I think it has a lot more to do with, the Bears being kind of crappy, offensively, that they forget actually they have some really talented defensive players. That front is really good against the run as well. So with Mack, it's I don't want to taint what he's done because he's great. And Splash, I'm sure, Splash wouldn't shut up about the edge rushers on here.
There we go.
I think next year, though, I think you're going to see Nicky Bosa move up, and I think Chase Young, the two Ohio State
Splash,
guys,
why are you here? Elvis
five.
Doomerville and Terrell Suggs are no longer playing, so I don't know what you're doing.
I'm surprised Matt Judon didn't get any more love.
Yeah,
because
I get on board with that.
Stop. I know you guys love to you guys love to overrate players as soon as they leave the Ravens. You did it with CJ Mosley. You do it with all the other retreads that you get from Baltimore that go to the Jets. Everyone told me Orlando Brown was better than Stanley when he got traded, and I was just like,
not me.
No, just wrong. So I'm here to discuss with Frankie. He sent me a just alarming text message.
I'm with you, Splash.
He told me TJ Watt was not an elite pass rusher. If TJ Watt is not an elite pass rusher, no one in the
Can
NFL
you put some context on that conversation, please? Because we split elite pass rushing and elite runs defending.
Mm-hmm.
I think TJ Watt is the best run defending edge rusher. The best.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think with his pass rushing skills, I don't think he's better than Garrett, Mack, Bosa, or Jones, just from a pure pass rushing move centric player. His defense helps him. He does stunts. That's what I said. But again, looking at his numbers and how he plays, I understand you thinking that's crazy. But
I think it's fair to say the defense helps, but I think we need to separate Watt from a guy like Bud Dupree. Bud Dupree in Pittsburgh was so productive because he could be the fourth guy. And if Bud Dupree is your fourth best guy on the defensive line, that's a stellar defensive line. I love Watt. Well, I hate Watt. I hate Tuitt. I hate Hayward because Steelers, but you get the point what I'm saying. But Watt, he is the guy. It would be saying Aaron Donald is overrated because he gets help from his line. No, he is the help on his line. He's the reason why Leonard Floyd can look like a somewhat remotely good pass rusher. He's the reason why Michael Brockers had a huge deal with the Ravens until he failed a physical. And Watt, he's the difference maker on that team. Hayward's an awesome player. Tuitt had a phenomenal season, and Dupree was generally pretty good for Pittsburgh. But Watt is the difference maker. And what he does in terms of both rushing the passer, which he does at an elite level. He had the second most pressures in the NFL, second to only Shaquille Barrett, and he had a higher pass rush productivity. So he's converting those not just into pressures, not just into hurries like Barrett does. He's converting them into hits. He's converting them into sacks. He's converting them into forced fumbles. Watt does everything as a pass rusher, just rushing the passer. Hand in the dirt, going after the quarterback. He's also a premier run defender. There are maybe two guys in the NFL I would take over him as a run stuffer at any position. And you're talking, I love me some Calais Campbell, still really good against the run. He may not be number one anymore.
He's really good. I like him a lot. He's one of my favorite defensive
He's up there. But Watt is perhaps the best pass rushing edge, perhaps the best run defending edge. And then when he drops in coverage too, he's a menace. The things Watt can do. And Garrett is an okay run defender. He's an awesome pass rusher. He's
way more physically gifted than
for sure.
God, he's a monster.
He is Defensive Player of the Year, I'd put $5 down on it. I don't happen to have $5 spare in my betting account, but hey, if you put $5 on Myles Garrett, I think you can get your money back. I honestly.
How much money did you put on Italy to win the Euro Cup?
Oh boy!
Yeah, Splash was bandwagoning with us.
Me and Slash had a little nice text
I
message.
did it ahead of time.
Slash, how much money did you put on Italy? Tell them.
I put 50 cents.
You put 50 cents. What did that get you back?
$3. It was plus.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it was. I think
You
right after
put more because you were on them with me.
It was right after their second game. I put 50 cents on Italy and 50 cents on Belgium, and then they both played in the quarterfinals. It's like really.
Honestly, those are probably two of the best three teams.
Yeah.
Did you parlay or you just put 50 cents?
No, just 50 cents.
I don't blame you, though. Screw it.
TJ Watt has the most sacks and quarterback hits, I think, in the past 2 or 3 years. I mean, the guy, he not only is like, the stat everybody always wants is the sacks. Like, he's producing the hurries, he's producing the hits, but he's also producing the sacks, which is like, everybody wants that.
No, the sack numbers are amazing. 29 sacks
he's
in the last 2 years?
ridiculous.
Yeah.
He's better. It's hard to say because his brother was great, but I think he's on a trajectory to have a better career than his brother.
Oh, I'm gonna give you guys 3 names. I want you guys.
Brother's overrated.
I would slow down there, Nick. What JJ Watt did is unprecedented.
Yeah,
the sort of disruption he had on every single snap, man.
Yeah, no, for sure. I just think he's bigger. He's bigger than his brother. Well, JJ is bigger than TJ. TJ plays more the edge. God, these initials are annoying. JJ on the interior a lot more. He was able to use his speed. And to me, TJ just dominates on the edge, and I think that player in this sport, the current landscape of the NFL is having more of an impact than JJ is, and probably because he plays on the Steelers, so it's more polarizing. But to me, what TJ does week in and week out, and like at the end of the year, you look at it and you're like, he is as good as what you're seeing on Sundays. He's just like, it's a special player. And Miles is great, obviously. And I'm Nick Bosa, homer until forever. So I think he's going to be, in that same conversation. I was so pissed when he got hurt. And I think Chase Young is going to be in the top 5 next year. It's such a hard list. Like, there's so many good edge rushers. Like we mentioned, we left guys off this list that could have easily have been on.
Well,
there.
I was just about to say we left off guys and I think Montez Sweat. Look out for that guy because I can see him being someone that we're looking at being on this list next year. We left Brandon Graham off, Zadarius Smith.
Was
obviously
Bradley
JJ Watt
even in the fan vote?
He wasn't. We ended up taking him out.
Oh, you took him out?
I'm a big Bradley Chubb fan.
Man.
Yeah, we just had to see him play on the field.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's hurt too much.
Because I remember you guys had him like
Brian Burns. We took off the fan vote also. Splash. I know that's your guy. He had a great season.
Burns
He's a really good player.
Now he can only do one thing, but oh boy, that speed rush. But
people don't talk about this enough with JJ Watt, and I guess we could move on to the next topic after this. But JJ Watt led the way for someone like Aaron Donald to be as productive as he was, because traditionally defensive linemen were taught, a lot of them, to play in a gap-controlled system. And JJ Watt was one of the first ones that really allowed you as a defensive coordinator to isolate on your offensive lineman, not be expected to clog gaps and just stick your ground, and allow you to almost pass rush as a defensive tackle, which was done a little bit in the past, but not to this extent. So don't forget, JJ Watt was one of the first that they isolated him on an island with guards and even centers and obviously tackles, and said, it's one-on-one. We're not expecting you to do any stunts, any gap control. You're going to go after the quarterback or after, the running back. And they opened it up and allowed a defensive tackle to basically operate like an edge on the inside. So give JJ Watt his dues on doing that. He did, and he opened the door for, I think, someone like Aaron Donald. I bet you Aaron Donald's defensive line coaches and coordinators looked at JJ film and found ways of isolating him up as much as possible.
They're changing the position, those guys. They're changing that. You're used to just seeing like a big 380-pound dude just clogging holes and gaps, and now it's like these dudes are athletic. Like, these are edge rushers playing inside at 340 pounds, and the game is just crazier and crazier every year with these athletes.
I agree with Splash. I'm excited to see what Matt Judon does this year. That's my 2 cents about this whole thing.
That's a shocker.
Lower your
Huge shocker.
expectations. Lower your
Yeah,
expectations.
he's gonna. Go by
I'm
the
not saying he's
wayside.
going to be like defensive player of the year or anything, but I'm excited to
He's great
see.
against the run, but he
Pats
should
are
have
going to have a
0
pretty
Pro Bowls.
decent rush
You
this
know.
year, I think. So.
The AFC East is getting all the Ravens trash. That means Gus Edwards will be on the Jets next year, you know?
Oh my goodness.
You got an
Gus
extension,
Edwards-
Frank. I'm surprised you didn't show him love.
Oh, yeah.
Gus Edwards, I saw a stat
Gus is
earlier.
good, man.
He
He's a
was
good
top
bat.
5 in explosive carries. Remember, it's Baltimore. He's sharing it with J.K. Dobbins, Mark Ingram, and Lamar Jackson. And the Ravens had 3 of the top 5 dudes.
Yeah.
So, and Dobbins.
There's a
is another
Vikings
big
fan
dude
page,
to see.
Hunter Love. Hunter's a stud. I can't wait to see him. Kind of last year he was off, whether it was the injury or whatever he had going off the field, the contracts and stuff. He's like to show to like a guy who's not in the top 5, like he could easily be in the top 5. Hunter too. So that's shout out to that comment. We can move on now.
We can move on. We actually have some news. I wouldn't necessarily call it breaking news, but news regarding Richard Sherman, who had a little bit of a run-in with the law over the last few days. Kind of sad stuff when you really read into all of it.
My spirit animal.
It's a little upsetting from the aspect of you hope he's okay, because if what was said on the 911 call is true, that he was drunk and saying that he wanted to kill himself, you just hope that he gets the help he needs so that doesn't happen again, because that's terrifying for somebody who's so likable and seems just so put together.
Very out of character for him.
Yeah, like that just doesn't seem like him. So I hope he gets the help he needs. But
did they not release him with bail because he was suicidal? That must be the case, right?
I don't know. I would imagine that seems like kind of like a protocol that they would follow but
of course,
let me read this off from Bob Condata he's from the Seattle Times.
Seattle Times, yeah, he's good.
He goes, Richard Sherman was released today on his own recognizance. $10,000 has been requested. He faces no felony charges, but 1 count of misdemeanor criminal trespass with a domestic violence designation, malicious mischief, DUI, resisting arrest, and has another hearing on Friday. So when he was arrested, it said on his arrest report, which is public information, anybody can look it up and see it, which is how it got circulated around social media, that this was being investigated as a felony, which I guess is protocol when it comes to domestic violence cases. So people read into that and automatically assumed he was going to be charged with a felony, but that's just the level of severity they take these kind of allegations.
People on social media, they jumped to conclusion and they thought the worst when you read domestic abuse, obviously, or domestic charge, violence, whatever. There was no physical violence here. Nobody was hurt. His wife, ex-wife, kids, family members, whatever. There was no physical assault here. And if you read otherwise on social media, they threw the book at him already. It's just the jump to conclusion society we live in. Nobody wants to read into anything and wait and let a story play out. They would rather shun the guy, condone him, call him a thug or a piece of crap. He is going through serious mental issues. He's drinking, obviously. It was crazy because he was just doing, and to be upfront, Frank and I, we love Richard Sherman. He's been awesome to us. We have somewhat of a relationship with him with uSTADIUM here. So.
He supported us when we first started uSTADIUM. I remember he DM'd up saying, "Keep going, guys. Like you guys have something good here. Don't stop. Don't listen to the outsiders." So he was close to us from the beginning. Yeah.
So it is a little bit more like on a you kind of guys who show you love, you tend to show them love too. It's just natural thing. So. When I first heard of it, I was like, I just talked to this guy. I was talking to him through entire free agency, and he was answering like we normally would talk. And he was doing different podcasts with PFF, and I was like, hey, like we'd love to have you on. He's like, dude, I'd love to do the show. I'm just contractually obligated to do these PFF podcasts with Collinsworth that he was doing, and he seemed like everything was going fine. And then it was funny because a couple weeks ago I hit him back and I didn't hear from him, and I was like, that's weird. He's usually like. Within a few hours, he'll always get back and say what's up. And I didn't hear from him. So then when I heard of this, I was like, "What?" It's the weirdest thing. Like he's, from all accounts, like great family guy, and doesn't mean he's not because of what happened. But just kind of scary to like the mental health aspect. That like, we're shining a lot of light on it, but still, you just don't know what goes on behind closed doors with these people. And you have a guy, Sherman, who maybe it's because he hasn't gotten maybe he's just in a weird place between obviously COVID, everybody kind of is, and now he's not playing football, he's not training, he's not on a roster for the first time in 10, 11 years. Maybe that has kind of took a toll on him. He's having a hard time finding, work, a team that's interested. He represents himself. Yeah, he represents himself. He doesn't have an agent who can shop him around, so it might have just kind of snowballed, and it happens. So hopefully for his sake, for his family's sake, and for everybody, this all works out. He gets on the field. I don't know if he'll have a shot this year, but it's in everybody's kind of best interest for that to happen. And hopefully,
what else happens too? What happens too with some of these athletes? I think when you're at the top of the world sometimes and everything's going great, and this can be applicable to life in general, and you're feeling great about certain things, or your ego is pumping you up for all these years. Once you have some rough patches and then things aren't going well and your ego really takes a hit and you're not used to being this overly confident, brash kind of individual like a Sherman is, things can come at you fast. So you couple that with alcohol and it's just kind of, you're like a Ferrari going 120 miles an hour and your brakes aren't the best.
Yeah, someone cut the brakes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's kind of how it is. So that's something that, as you get older and as you mature as a person, it's good to understand your deficiencies with mental health and certain things. And I'm sure Sherman will be fine. He seems to be an educated guy, but this hits anybody, equally. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are, how much money you have. So
celebrity status doesn't take away from dealing with mental health.
It only makes it worse, to be honest.
Exactly.
Yeah, honestly, look at Hollywood. I mean, they have probably the biggest example of that. Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
So hopefully everybody's good and they can put it behind them.
Yep. And we wish him the best in whatever sort of recovery period he has. And hopefully we can see him on the field this year. So that's that. Let's move on to a different name or two in the secondary. One near and dear to my heart, Stephon Gilmore. And then the other in the same division in Xavien Howard. Their names have been circling a little bit in trade talks, some rumors going around. So it's obvious the Patriots and Gilmore haven't really come to any middle ground in terms of getting him a new deal. He wants to be paid what he's worth. I'm not necessarily sure what he's worth at this point at 31 years old, coming off of a torn quad.
I don't think anybody knows.
It's more than the $7 million or 7 point whatever $million he's due to be making. I know that much, but I don't know if it's necessarily as much as he thinks. I think it's somewhere in the middle. And then Xavien Howard, they're just in my opinion, two of the best at what they do.
They're great. Both of them.
And the fact that they're in the same division is kind of,
as a Jet fan, I hope they both go.
I was going to say, it makes it nice for you guys to talk about this because the sooner you guys can get them out of here, the better. Yes. But what should each team do? What should the Dolphins do when it comes to Howard? What should the Pats do when it comes to Gilmore? Should one of them be traded? Should both of them be traded? What would you trade them for? Give me the whole rundown because it's kind of important. And we're 2 weeks away from training camp. This is kind of crunch time right now. So
it's an interesting thing. And Brie, like with Gilmore, he's always been so interesting to me because prior to this year when the Pats went crazy in free agency, when they went out and they signed Gilmore right off the bat to a huge deal, I was like, whoa, for this guy, he was solid in Buffalo, but you didn't think of him as, this great lockdown corner, which he became in New England. So, Belichick loves this guy. He went out, their pro free agency scouting department with the Pats. They targeted this guy. They loved him. They paid him. He's been worth all that and more with the Pats. And even now, like if somebody would have gone through because Gilmore makes this public, and a lot of Pats don't do that. Right. Belichick loves this guy, which to me, kind of leads me down the road to think they're going to find a way to keep him because Belichick clearly loves him. Because if he didn't, A, he wouldn't have been here and they wouldn't have paid him in the first place. And B, now going public on the other side of 30, dealing with a lower leg injury for a corner, he probably would have moved on from him at this point, traded him for a 2, washed his hands and been done. Clearly, Belichick loves this guy. Clearly, the Pats love this guy. He makes the defense work. When he's on the field, you can, it's almost like Revis light. He's not as good as Revis in his prime, but when Revis came from the Jets, and they won that Super Bowl with the Pats, he played amazing that year. And Gilmore has kind of come in after Revis and has done the same thing. They haven't had the team success as much, but Gilmore is, if not the best cover corner in football, he's one of the best. And Xavien Howard is a guy, he's just a playmaker, like led the league in interceptions. It felt like he was having like 2 picks a week last year at a point, and a bunch of them were from Sam Darnold and whoever was that corpse behind the Jets offensive line playing quarterback. So you have kind of 2 different corners. One guy who's just your pure lockdown, another guy who just makes plays back there. I'd love to see both of them out of the division. It seems like both of them have had, their names in trade rumors the past 2-3 years. If I was a team, I don't think the Gilmore thing is going to end up in a trade. I think eventually he'll come back. They'll rework.
What kind of quote
deal.
is that?
Yeah, the best. It's like,
no,
what
he's pick a team out of a hat. He's the best fit for.
And why the Cardinals? Can people stop overrating the Cardinals?
Like, is that like some like end all be all quote or something? Like, is he working for somebody? That's a weird quote. Like, you could literally put a million teams in there and it would make sense.
Yeah, like why the Cardinals of all teams?
I know.
But I could see the Dolphins just being fed up. They also have they have Noah Igbenogany, who they drafted in the first round. They have Byron Jones, who they paid through the roof. So I could see them moving on from Howard more than I could see, even though Howard's younger and he's probably got a longer way to go. Well, he definitely does than Gilmore. I could see them just being fed up and being able to move him because they have that cornerback depth in Miami. But I don't, especially with less than 2 weeks to camp, like you got to figure out a way to keep both of these guys. Like the way the game is played now, you need these corners and you need a lot of them. And to move on from either of these guys, it's tough. But I think Belichick finds a way to keep Gilmore here.
I agree.
My question for you guys is this, and I'm going to propose this out because haven't really been able to make a strategic analysis on this. Do you think that you need great corners to win a championship or to even contend? Something about this whole cornerback market's telling me that you really don't. I don't know. I have a feeling that
good question.
It's right now it's looked at as a very important position, but I really think it's a little bit overrated in terms of value to a team. And I think investing that obviously in your defensive line and offensive line, if you were to invest money into a big corner, I'd be more prone to say don't put that money into a big-time corner. Don't pay Gilmore this big money. Let him walk or get some assets on the market. But I don't know. I flip back and forth. It's just something interesting to think
I'm with
about.
you, Frank. And do you remember back in 2009 before the Jets traded for Cromartie when Revis had the year of no one ever had a better year individually than Revis had in 2009. He had that list of receivers he shut down.
Best year I've ever seen from any player at their position.
Yes, and you're talking about the best ever in that one season. All other teams had to do was throw to the other side. So you're really only as good as your other corner, and we talked about this with the offensive line, when I talked about how much I like the move for Morgan Moses because you have a Becton on one side. If your right tackle is garbage and your opposite corner is garbage, teams now, the game plans are so specific to the team that they're playing. You just target the other corner and you throw away from these guys.
Or you target the middle of the field. You target
so you can go around. So I think it's like, if you ask me and I had a team, I'm investing in the front, I'm getting pressure on, from your edge or your interior, and I'm having 2 solid corners and I'm playing a little bit off. I'm not going to play any hard man cover because these guys now you can move so many of them inside and line them up in different places. So to have a lockdown corner and a terrible corner on the other side kind of defeats the purpose. You could do so many different things. So if you have one of these guys like a Gilmore and a Jair Alexander and a Xavien Howard, you better then go out and get another really good corner because then they're just going to go the opposite way. So it's a great, and I'm sure defenses and offensive coaches and team philosophy talk about this year after year, and it's a great conversation to have. But for me, I'm investing in the front, and I'm putting as much pressure and making these quarterbacks as uncomfortable as possible and getting them off their spot rather than investing so heavy on the outside of corner.
Well, just a quick tidbit, and then I'll let Bree jump in and get us to the next segment because we'll talk all night about this, Nick.
Yeah,
I do think I agree with exactly what you just said. I think if you have a really stout defense, adding somebody like Xavien Howard or Gilmore's fantastic because it's tough to know where you're going to go with the ball, and you can't just say I'm going to go to one side or the middle of the field when it's stacked in the middle of the field or the other side. For example, like when the Packers brought in Charles Woodson, their defense was awesome at that time. Bringing in Woodson, you bring it to another level. But when you take a guy like Nnamdi Asomugha and you put him on a defense that was unproven and really had no one really out there, then you take a guy like that and they're terrible because teams are moving away. They get discouraged and things kind of move on. But that's a great
That's
point,
why I was
man.
so shocked when they signed Gilmore that year. I remember being like stunned that they paid this guy. I was like, that is so not like Belichick. And I was like,
Belichick
really
was right. One of his best signings.
That's why so like it stands out in my mind, that signing, probably because he turned into like the best corner. But I was like, this is so un-Belichick, because Belichick never had obviously he had Ty Law, but he drafted him. He never spent on corners to come in. Like Bree, they have like these little dudes who come in on 1 year and just, look at Malcolm Butler. You developed him and kicked him out. Didn't know he was any good. He's been okay everywhere he went. The Titans, he was solid, but he's never been any better than he was.
No.
Yeah, so I'm more of like, probably because I've seen Belichick in our division do this year after year. It's great to have a difference maker back there on the back end of your defense, but I don't think it makes your defense run. Like, look at the Chiefs. They don't have any corners. They have Tyrann Mathieu, running around back there, is kind of bringing the energy. He hits, he makes big plays. It's good to have one guy back there at least to do kind of like be the star of the show back there.
My only thing with Frankie's point is, and just specifically talking in terms of Stephon Gilmore, because I think this Patriots defense can be really good, whether they retain him or not. Obviously, I'd want them to. I want him to stay. I want him to get paid. I'm thinking it's going to be somewhere between 9.5 and 10, just because of he's coming off this injury. And he's north of 30. So how much longer does he have left? 5 years?
Probably got
6 years?
2-3 great years out of him.
Right.
So
my thing with this is the Patriots, last time I checked, this could have changed after Mac Jones signed his deal. They have about $13 million in cap space left. Splash, if you could check my math on that one. It would be capable of happening. I think it should happen. I think it will happen. I don't necessarily think it's going to happen before camp starts. I think it's going to happen probably around August, early mid-August.
You see this? So look at these figures here. Stephon's a little bit underpaid. I mean, he's only making, I think, $7 million.
He's in a down year of his contract. So, 2 years ago, he probably made $14 million, that year. But he's just on the lower end. And guys, that's what Xavien Howard's pissed about. Someone beat him to the market again, So that's why these guys, they sign deals like this. And he's only making 7 this year, but 2 years ago he probably made 14 or 11 or whatever it may be. So he's on the back end of the contract where, the teams a lot of times front load a lot of money. They're in a different position financially. So it's not that he made $7 million every year of his career. Like, then he'd be disgustingly overpaid and he'd have a case for it. But they've already paid him, and he played to that level, to his credit, obviously. So now he just wants to go back and say, hey, I played up to that 13-14 million I made every year. Give it to me again, because I'm still playing at this level.
Dude, Patriots will be fine.
That's what happened last year when they restructured his deal to make it more front loaded. It was like an extra $3 million, $4 million on a signing bonus or something. That's why this number is so low on his cap hit.
Maybe they want to see what he looks like in camp. See how that quad is, and if he's healthy and he's up,
if he shows up,
they'll pay him. Yeah,
if he shows up,
the Pats will be fine. They're going to score so many points with Cam Newton at the helm. They won't even need.
Cam said this is a make or break season for him.
He did. He said, "Put up or shut up."
Remember what Cam did his first 2 games in the NFL, Nick? He threw for 400 yards. He never did again. Wait till this season. He's going to throw for 400 yards 4 times.
Every year. Every game.
Every game, 400 yards every game. Until he retires.
Bree can't wait for Cam to go deep down.
I can't wait for the Patriots to just torch the Jets like old times this year, so you guys just shut the hell up.
But would that do anything for you again? Like, at this point, it's like it happens all the time.
No, it really wouldn't. It would just be like, another day.
And even if
dollar.
the Jets beat the Pats at this point where I am in my life, I'm like, okay. Like I was
getting
amped up when I was in high school, and shit. But like now it'd be cool, but like I'm not gonna go crazy about it because it's probably one of their 6 wins.
But we haven't worked with Bree since
the Jets haven't won since we worked with Bree.
Oh yeah, so this is going to be interesting right now. This is going to be there's going to be a lot of beef behind these games.
Hopefully, hope both.
Wait, I'm sending you a voice. I'm sending you a bunch of voice notes after we beat that right there. So you wait.
Okay.
Week 2, Jets home opener.
I'll be there.
Oh, you're going?
Yeah. My dad and I, we usually try to go to the whatever Pats Jets game is at MetLife, just because it's so close to where my parents live. So I will be there. I've got some friends that are Jets fans. It is. It's the worst. So shitty. Chicken fingers aren't bad though. I will give them that. The chicken fingers aren't terrible.
The food there is not that bad actually.
I mean, I hope so.
Yeah.
The least that they can do is feed the depressed slobs.
Watch out with the food at MetLife though, with the Johnson & Johnson family and all the stuff they're finding in products. Just be careful. You might find arsenic in your honey mustard. So
hey, arsenic poisoning is probably better than watching their team the past 10 years. So.
Oh man! All right, are we done here? Was that our last topic?
I think we are. We are.
All right, friends.
Frank, do you like or not like Pete Alonso?
I don't like him.
You know what? I didn't like him until I saw his presser the other night after he won the home run derby.
So actually, funny. I know you like oh my god.
No, I didn't like when he's like, I'm the best power hitter in baseball. Yeah. Like, all right, buddy. Weirdo, shaking your head the whole game like I do at the gym when I'm doing push-ups. But no, he's a little bit of an oddball, but hey, he's not bad. He really loves baseball, and I think listen, someone who loves their craft and actually works hard at it. He is a little bit arrogant in his own way, but I actually think he's not as bad as I thought he was in terms of likability.
He's very awkward.
He's good. He's a good player, man.
Yeah, he's a great. I mean, he's built for home run derbies. What he did, that 35 in that round was crazy. Like they should do the home run derby in Colorado every year. Like those balls were just flying out. 35 in one round was pretty crazy. It was cool to see him win. It was cool to see them. I thought the home run derby was like probably the coolest since I was like in 8th grade or 9th grade. Back in like the 98 years, with the home run and the steroid era. I thought Monday nights was awesome. Frank, did you see Judge, Gio Urshela, Nestor Cortez, Higashioka, and Wandy Peralta all tested positive for COVID?
That's why there's
but they have no symptoms. So but they still canceled the game.
The Delta variant?
Do they have to go and test everybody at the All-Star game now because Judge was there?
Yep. All five Red Sox players that were there have to get tested.
Oh boy!
I just saw a tweet saying that.
You guys dodged a bullet.
All the Red Sox All-Stars. The Mets only
had one guy at the All-Star game.
All Red Sox All-Stars who were in Denver have been asked to undergo additional testing today because they were told one of the Yankees All-Stars had been tested positive for COVID. Freaking Aaron Judge.
Yeah, unbelievable. The Yankees can't do anything right this year.
For nothing, Yankees.
You love Yankee fans, right, Bree? Aren't they your favorite?
God, those listen.
Are they your least favorite fans?
Yes. Especially
why do you not like them so much?
What
happened
teenagers?
with you and Yankee fans? What happened with you and Yankee fans? I have to hear
I called Aaron Judge overrated.
At a game.
No. I wasn't even at a game. I was on Twitter. And I called him overrated because it was the night
and he got hurt, probably.
No, he didn't get hurt. He struck out to end the game. One of the games they were playing in Boston. I can't remember which one it was, but it was like they had.
It was this year, right?
Yeah, it was like a month ago, maybe at most 2 weeks ago.
I remember.
And they got after you.
And they came after me. The little teenagers came after me. The guys that work for John Boy. One of them called me a moron, and then I went on his page and he said that Garrett Cole was going to save the season the next day, and the Yankees ended up getting fucking smashed in the first inning by like 6 runs, and I was there screaming my head off at everybody. So they called me all the nasty names that you could possibly.
Did they all have like basketball avatars? It seems like all the trolls on Twitter or Instagram have like a random white Hawks player. Who's that white player on the Hawks that shoots? He's got a weird name, Frank Kevin something.
Herta.
Yeah, they all have like him as
Herder.
their avatar. Anytime you see
From
like
Herder.
a random NBA player avatar, it's like a fake troll account. It's like
they're all like 17 years old. So
Yeah.
I made it
And
a
they're
point.
angry little dudes.
They're the meanest.
Yeah.
Some of the names and some of the things that were said to me, I was like, "What the? Did your mother teach you to talk like that?"
Parents should be embarrassed.
That's New York for you,
man.
But they're every fan. It's just random fans in general too, are like that on Instagram, especially.
Oh, but when it comes to Aaron Judge, though, these like little boys, like just you can't even say that he's an inch too tall without them coming and jumping down your throat for being. But somebody called me racist
like
because
in the group chat
because he's black, and I'm like, what does
He's
being
not
overrated at baseball have to do with his skin color? I don't like him. I think he stinks. He either strikes out or hits a home run. There's no in between. He's the tallest freaking player in baseball, and he plays on the short porch side of the outfield. And he, some reason, can't catch every fly ball that goes out there.
By the way, I cannot stand Twitter anymore. I am done with Twitter. I am done. I'll give two examples, and I'm going to shout the names of. Actually, I'm not going to shout their names out because they're losers. But one person the other night, I posted after Connor lost and got his ass beat again. I posted, "Is this the end of Conor McGregor as we knew of him?" This person, this person's going nuts, saying typical casual account, typical of you guys looking for attention at uSTADIUM. That's the only stuff you guys post is looking for attention and likes and followers. Dude, your account sucks. Your Twitter sucks. Your Jets podcast is the biggest.
Oh, it's a Jets fan?
I know who we're talking about.
I'd rather watch this freaking lamp all night than look at you. I feel bad for your wife. That's one.
Doesn't he like deactivate like every other day? Are we talking about the same guy?
This guy used to be a nice friend of ours. We used to invite him to our events. We used to give him free tickets. Once uSTADIUM got a little bit bigger, that we got more followers than the 5,000 mark, which 90% of these accounts are at, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But we got to a higher mark. We get trashed on all the time. It is what it is. But then today I posted, I thought it was funny. I posted the Dwayne Haskins, like how it started with him and his wife giving his wife an engagement ring, and how how it started and how it's going with her being arrested for punching him in the face with his tooth got knocked out. I thought it was pretty funny. Apparently that's not funny at all. I didn't know that I was like insinuating or laughing at a domestic violence joke. So this another Jets account comes after me saying, how desensitized are you guys? Like, this is so rude. I'm like, I'm sorry. What happened to Twitter? What happened to the days of Twitter when you could make funny jokes and memes? I guess can't do it anymore.
That's just the world in general now. It's just it spills over into Twitter because it becomes so like okay on Twitter to be so offended at everything. It's just you kind of gotta. That's the environment we live in. Feel bad for comedians.
Yeah, Bree, do you think it was bad that I made a Dwayne Haskins joke or no? I have to get a woman's opinion on this because Nick said it's domestic violence and I was wrong. But I'm like, she punched him in the face and knocked his tooth out. I thought that's pretty funny. If he touched her, that would not funny, obviously.
I get where you're coming from, but I still think it's a little taboo to make jokes.
Yeah, distasteful. Okay.
A little bit. But
right.
I do understand your line of thinking. Where it's like, oh, you got your tooth knocked out by a girl, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
But it's not, But I get it.
Yeah, I never thought that people would actually react that way towards thinking of it as domestic violence. When I know obviously it's domestic violence, but when the woman does something to the man, and the man's notoriously someone like Dwayne Haskins, I would think it could be somewhat funny. But I guess the world we live in, like, you really can't say any of that stuff anymore. So, hey. Yep.
I don't know.
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? All right. Are we done here?
No.
Yeah.
I have to talk about Tony Fauci. So if you want to log off.
Oh, my God. I'm out.
I'm just kidding. Everything we say, there's an over-under whether or not we'll say Tony Fauci on the show. So I just had to throw that in there. So.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was kidding.
Anytime Frankie dives into politics, I just want to stab myself in the face. Okay. What's this new thing on the app that you wanted to talk about before we signed off?
We'll talk about it in a few weeks, but we're coming out with a dope feature, UFAM. So if the UFAM's out there, we are coming out with a points betting model that you guys are going to freaking fall in love with. So we're building that right now. Shout outs to the tech team at the U. We got something really game changing coming, something that we should have built a while ago, but hey, sometimes things take time. So, I'm super excited. So yeah, just stay tuned into the community, stay locked in. We'll send an email to everyone when there's time to beta test. We're going to need people to beta test. So people out there, if you want to beta test, just reach out to me. You can email any of the uSTADIUM accounts. I'm F@uSTADIUM or Frankie @uSTADIUM or info@uSTADIUM. Just get in touch with us, DM us all around, and we'll get you ready to beta test. So this feature is sick. As Splash, this feature is dope. This feature is real dope. So get ready for it.
All right, everybody. Well, on that note, we are out of here. I got to pack for a trip. And you guys.
Damn, another trip? Where are you going?
Just going to Cape Cod. It's no big deal.
Oh, my God, Madonna. Jeez, you're taking trips every year?
Just driving down the coast for 2 days.
Brie, you're killing it, I must say.
It's nothing. I am. The summer of Brianna is what I'm calling this. I'm on a roll. All right.
Yankees are taking you guys out, by the way.
Yeah, okay. Win one game first. 0-6 on the season. Win one game first. All right, everybody. We will talk to you next week. Same time, same place. Happy Thursday. Have a great weekend.